Rajas in India take the eldest son and send him to Delhi, and they would jail the son. They'd put him in jail. And that way, if the Raja did anything against the emperor, he knew that his eldest son would be killed. And so that's how they controlled the Rajas. So the fort at Gwalior had all of the sons of the Rajas there in the fort. And so that's where Jahangir jailed Guru Hargobind. The Sikhs were beside themselves. They were so upset because still it was fresh in their mind, the fact that Guru Arjan Dev never came home. But Guru Hargobind Sahib told them not to worry, and he looked at this as his time to meditate, as his time to go within, as his time to build his own ras, build his own power, build his own meditation. And so he voluntarily went to the fort at Gwalior. All the princes there loved him, and he served them as his Sangat, and they treated him as their guru. Even the jailers themselves came to love the guru. The Sikhs would come from all over and bring food and bring offerings. Sometimes they were allowed to go in the fort, and sometimes they weren't. Now history tells us many things about how long the Guru stayed there. Some of the history books say 40 days. Some of the history books say 12 years. But it was somewhere between 40 days and 12 years that Guru Hargobind stayed in the fort at Gwalior. And he stayed in his meditation. So when the astrologer finally said that the bad period had passed, and Jahangir was ready to let Guru Hargobind out from the jail, he sent the word. He said, okay, Guru Hargobind, now you can come out. And Guru Hargobind said, no, I'm not ready to come out. And besides that, I will not come out unless you let everybody in here out. I'm not coming, this is my Sangat. I'm not coming out alone. You can let me out, but you have to let everyone else in here out too. And so Jahangir said back, he said, okay, he's a holy man, so he couldn't say no to him. He said, okay, but I'll only let as many people as can grab a hold of your chola leave. So Guru Hargobind had the biggest chola made with 100 panels in the chola, so that it was huge, almost like a tent. And all of the princes who were jailed in the fort, 52 princes, held on to a piece of his chola, and they all left the fort together. And then he went back to Amritsar. Now one of those princes was from Kalur, from around where we know is Anand Prasad now. And in his gratitude, he gave Guru Hargobind a piece of land at Kiratpur, which is right outside of Anand Prasad. But Guru Hargobind went back to Amritsar, and there was great rejoicing in Amritsar when he came home. And he came back a very, very strong man that was ready to lead his people into the whole next phase of our Dharma. So he built an army. He had 100 generals, and each one of those 100 generals had 100 soldiers. He set up each one in forts around Amritsar. They trained daily. You all know Kabaddi? Yes. That came from that time. And they would wrestle, and they'd play Kabaddi, and they said that Guru Hargobind was so strong that he could lift a horse. Have you seen you manly men when you bench press? Next time you're bench pressing a weight, think of it as a horse. That's what your Guru did. And so that whole aura was around Amritsar. And it wasn't just Sikhs that came into the army. Guru Hargobind would let anyone come into his army as long as he had the moral character and the spiritual strength to be in that army. He let anyone from any religion come in. That was not part of his criteria. He let Muslims come. He let Hindus come. You had to be of good moral strength, and you had to be spiritually strong, and you had to be ready to fight, and you could be in his army. One time, when he stayed very close, actually, to Jahangir. Jahangir came to Amritsar and met him there. And Jahangir saw the Hari Mandir and he saw the Akal Takht, and he was very impressed. And the emperor said, I will give money, and I'd be happy to finish building this for you. I'll build this town and it will be gorgeous. And Guru Hargobind said, no, thank you. I don't want your money. We'll build it ourselves. And so he would not take the money of Jahangir to build Amritsar. So Jahangir asked him to go travel with him a little, and he did. They went up to Lahore. And the mayor, the governor, the Qazi of Lahore, wanted to do something to impress Jahangir. And there was a beautiful Masand who was in Lahore. Masand was representative of the Guru. And at the time of Guru Hargobind, the Masands were still good people. They hadn't turned bad yet. And so there's a beautiful Masand up there named Sajjan. And so Sajjan had found a horse that was the most beautiful horse he'd ever seen. And he knew the Guru would love it. And so he bought this horse for 100,000 rupees. Now today, it's 40 rupees to the dollar, right? 100,000 rupees, that's nothing. You spend that on your wedding dress. But in those days, a rupee was a lot of money. And 100,000 rupees was an untold amount of money. So he had spent 100,000 rupees on this horse, and he was going to give it to the Guru. But the Qazi, the Muslim emperor, the Muslim mayor of the city, he wanted to give it to Jahangir. And so he asked to buy it from Sajjan, and Sajjan said, no, it's not for sale. This horse is not for sale. So the mayor sends a message to Jahangir and tells him about this beautiful horse. And so Jahangir, who professed himself to be the friend of the Guru, he said, well, just steal it from him then. So he did. He stole the horse. And so Sajjan sends a message to Guru Hargobind and says, this thing has happened. He says, don't worry about it. He goes, that horse is mine and will only be for me. So he presented the horse to Jahangir. Jahangir goes to mount the horse, and the horse shakes his head, which is actually, the superstitious emperor took that as a bad sign. So a horse that shakes his head when you mount him is supposedly bad luck, and so he got off of him right away. And then the horse just stopped eating. There was nothing they could do. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't move, he went lame. And so this gorgeous horse, all of a sudden, over a period of just a couple of weeks, turned into skin and bones. Ugly nag. Nothing beautiful about it. And so the Qazi went back to Sajjan and said, you've sold me, I stole this bad horse from you, you can buy it back from me. And he bought it back from him for 1,000 rupees. And so he brought it to Guru Hargobind. And just by patting the neck of the horse came back into health. And within a week's time, it was a gorgeous animal.